To start with you first, you've said in previous interviews that you fell in love with acting and this process because you enjoy finding the connection with your characters. What was it about Beau that resonated with you?
Oh, I mean, he's quite literally going through an identity crisis, right? And I mean, I think it's easy for us in life you could go through an identity crisis every day. You know what I mean? Like there's constantly something that you're trying to figure out about your life. And most of it comes from the aspect that, you're either living too much in the past or too much in the future and constantly trying to identify by your name, right? By what you do, the decisions that you're making. Like for Beau, it was like what college he was going to be going to, if he was going to be staying in his relationship, what his friendship with Nick's character was going to be like, whether he was gay or not, and then having the multiple fathers, choosing a name, right? So it's like looking at all of these things that on the outside, right, or outcomes or titles or things that he's really identifying with, and feeling like he has a lesser value, or he's struggling because he doesn't have that perfect perception, he doesn't have that perfect life. When in all reality, he realizes at the end, it's about the process. It's about having loved ones around you. It's about really enjoying the relationships that he does have and being present in those moments. And I think there's something that's so raw and so true and so beautiful about that character, that Beau, and the realization, the epiphany that he comes to at the end, that's true about everyone in life. And I feel like an epiphany that I've had multiple times over and over again.
Great answer. And Nick, similar question for you. What was it about Griffin that you were excited to dive into?
The thing about Griff that got me when I first read the script, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Like, from an outside point of view, like they're doing so many fun activities. They're drinking, there's partying, and like, and really, but like in life, there's so much underneath that. There's so much struggle Griff was really having, and it follows Beau's narrative. But playing Griff, I really saw through the heart and just that this kid he just has his heart on his sleeve because he has such a touchy subject, especially in the era where the film takes place.
Yeah.
And I think that was just one of my favorite things to tackle because I feel like growing up, everyone questions really the fear they have being judged by the world, and Griff is battling so much inside himself and he doesn't know how to talk to anyone about that. And so I think it's also the relationship with Beau and Griff that really is really actually that was special to see how they both connected and how both Beau still loved Griff at the end, finding out everything. And yeah, I think there's so much heart there.
For the both of you, but both of your characters go on this incredible journey of self-discovery, which you both brought so much nuance to. As actors, how did you create the space to dive into those more vulnerable moments for each of your characters?
I mean, for me, this is really the first feature film I worked on, which is such a blessing. Yeah, that Spencer Zender took a chance on me. It was an amazing experience, and when I guess I was just trying to really connect it to different situations in my life so I could understand kind of what it was like again to to be in that situation. He's a high schooler, he's about to go on to college, and I felt like every decision I was making in high school felt like the end of the world, right? It was either going to be the best decision I ever made or the worst decision I ever made, and I was going to live or die by it. And I think it was just trying to be okay with and being playful with the fact that that's something that we never really get past. Me and Nick, I feel like we generated a really strong relationship and friendship outside of just acting, and that allowed for some of the vulnerability and some of the more kind of emotional aspects, or allowed for some of the work that really came out and shows on screen. It allowed for that to happen because you're able to develop that relationship off screen as two individuals that care about each other as people, on and off the screen. And it's actually something that I've really been getting to more now, is being comfortable vocalizing your feelings, your emotions, as a man, especially in a time where men's mental health is a large issue, and some of the statistics are alarming. And just being comfortable talking to other male figures, other male friends, and stuff in your life about hard things, about your feelings, about what's going on. And I feel like we kind of generated a relationship offset that kind of allowed for that to happen, and it perfectly flowed into our characters and the relationship that we had on set.
Yeah, and it comes across on screen as well. How about for you, Nick?
For me, it was a very interesting process of tapping into my younger self as a kid, because I think Griff is there's such a youthfulness there, and what his issue is such like it's so personal and so private. And so I had to, because as a straight man and then portraying someone who is struggling with their sexuality, I had to really go beyond, like back when I
Mm.
was just very like simple and just full of heart as a kid, right? And so I had to really just imagine and play with just the heartbreak of what it felt like as a kid to like not be accepted, or fearful of what people thought of me, or big fears I had as a kid. I brought that heart to Griff, and so that helped me make the connection. I mean, I spent a lot of time talking to friends who around my age who did come out actually recently during the filming, which was helpful. But the strongest thing was really making that bridge between my child self and the fears I had, and Griffin his fears, and just really merging that. And it's funny because like when it settled in, um, it really settled in. And then also
Mm.
our scenes with Ryan, my scene with Ryan, and just that relationship, that is something that really hit it. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, like Beau is so different than Griff. And that was also like, oh, it kind of like it hurts because I wish I could be like Beau, or Griff could be like Beau, but he's not. And it was such an interesting push and pull, and it brought so much
Mhm.
life. Um, and it really we just like so much discovery. Ryan I'm sure will agree, like happened in the moment. In so many
Mhm.
scenes we shot, Ryan and I would talk in between takes and be like, oh, what if we did this or what if we did that? There's a scene,
Yeah.
Ryan,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah. I mean,
record shop.
yeah,
You're
there's a
like,
scene
oh,
where I actually slapped Nick's character.
yeah, yeah,
And, and it was just like one of those shocking moments. But the push and pull, to jump on that, I mean, it was one of those things where it was like, hey man, like I totally accept you. I love you. I'm gonna tease you though, but it's like a
yeah,
playful banter. It's
Yeah.
like, because I know you're still doing, like you're kind of like you're out to me, but then you're not out to the public. So I'm gonna give you crap about it because so it was like it was a push and pull, playful thing. It was one of those loving relationships where it's like you're almost like brothers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
yep.
like we can kind of chirp each other, make fun of each other, but like this is my guy. This is my best friend. So yeah, it definitely came out on screen. The record shop was a lot of fun to play around with that stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think
yeah,
watching the film too, like Beau and Griff, watching their relationship, I mean, I don't really think there's anything that could break it. I
Yeah.
mean, they're just really brothers is a perfect way to put it. They fight like brothers. Beau teases Griff like brothers. Even I think Karen views Griff as like a part of the family, right? I mean,
hmm
which he is, and I think
hmm
that relationship just makes everything so much easier to just relate to all these characters and be like this to feel the family, the love, and the push and pull of like just any family would, and the dilemmas every family has, right?
hmm
Ryan, Beau is inspired by Spencer's own father. Did that bring an added pressure as you headed into this project?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I think from the outside, it definitely it always like going into it at least, before I'd met Spencer, before I'd met his family. Of course it can, because you're like you have the pressure to kind of portray him in a way that he likes, he enjoys,
Yeah.
that where I'm doing a good job, to his standard. Um, But honestly, like working with Spencer, meeting his entire family, everyone was so welcoming, so supportive, so excited about the project in general. And I mean, we would have conversations about how he would react to certain roles, about how his anger, like the anger that Beau has, how it was pent up and it would kind of come out in a kind of explosive spurts because he feel like he didn't have,
Mm.
an avenue to kind of express those things. So like a lot of those aspects and kind of the spurts, which sometimes almost seem like when I'm watching it back on screen, they almost seem over the top, right? Like because it just kind of comes out. It's like all this anger is built. He's not satisfied with his identity. He's not satisfied with his place in life, and he's questioning all these different decisions that are going around him. And he feels like no one else gets him, right? He like no one else understands, and it's a very like no one else outwardly looking in understands me. All that stuff came from uh Brian Zender, came from Mr.
Mm.
Zender. So it's like, having those conversations helped a lot. And talking with him after, obviously saw him at the premiere, and I think he was happy with it. And I think he was really happy with the project. And that obviously is it doesn't really feel like a relief, because once I met him, it didn't feel like pressure. It felt like, hey, we're working together on this.
Yeah.
and it was really a family oriented kind of cast, crew, production, everything around it. It was really good energy on set, like all the time, and there was a lot of support. So
Yeah. And Spencer wrote and directed this project. Is the experience different when the person who's created this universe is also at the helm? What was that collaboration like?
yeah, I mean, to me, he's a wrecking ball. I mean, he does it all. Like it was him writing it, fully understanding everything that he wants out of it, and then directing it. Like, I mean, there are times where it's just like, I knew I did a take that it just wasn't getting to the point that he wanted, but because he was so animated and like adamant about the things that he wanted to get to, he was a great coach. He was a great mentor on set. Yeah, I mean, it definitely adds a whole extra layer. I mean, it was his baby, right? So you want to do proud by him. And I kind of, at some points, I felt like almost like I wanted to just be more like a tool for the director. I want him to be able to paint the image that he's imagining for what he had written here. So like, I want to take everything that he's saying in, and I just want to be that tool for him. What do you want to see out of me from this scene? Like, what are you really trying to get at? But it's a constant conversation, right? Because obviously, like, I have, who I'm identifying with the character again, that's coming internally. And then it's a balancing point with, okay, what does Spencer want to see? He wrote it, he's directing it. He can see it all on screen, what's coming out, what's not coming out. And then, from there, just hopefully getting to a picture that everybody's really happy with, and to a piece that everyone's really happy with. Nick, I don't know if you had a similar feeling, but.
Yeah, I mean, really one of the first things I learned in being an artist and actor is you honor the story, you honor the writer, and to just be totally selfless in the sense of like, I'm here as a tool. I'm here to, yes, bring myself to the story, but also like and I talked to Spencer about it. I had such a passion for sharing his vision, also knowing it was about his family, like his dad, something so personal. And I just wanted to just give my all and just be the absolute best, and just however I could help shape his vision the way that would be best. And he was really busy on set. He was doing absolutely everything. And I think the fact that he created also like such a bond with Ryan and I allowed us to also, even though he was busy, to settle in and be like, okay, we got this, and we know if Spencer wants us to do anything different, he'll be like, he would do like simple notes like, I can't remember specifically, but just to come in simple notes to takes, and then we just roll through it. So it was a very like just a comfortable, like, knowing that Spencer always had our back, and that I could just trust that we were honoring his vision, because it was his baby. If he was going to say something, he would step in and say something. So
And
there's
this
just a
film
lot
is
of trust, a lot of trust. Yeah.
and this film has made its way around the festival circuit. It's been incredibly well received. What do you think is resonating most with audiences? What do you hope they take away? What was it like getting to share this film with a live audience?
I think just because the film's about life. When people ask me what it's about, that's usually that's the easiest response for me to go to. It's a dramedy, but it's about life. It's like I find a hard way of describing it anyway else. Like, it's a guy, he's coming to age, he has to make a lot of decisions about his identity, but at the end he realizes that really all these things that he's worried about are taking away from the amazing things that he already has around him. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that everybody needs to be reminded of, and everybody needs to be reminded that these decisions come and go. You have decisions to make every day, and they're never going to be the end all be all. Life is hard sometimes, life's really great sometimes, and sometimes it's in between. And so I think that's why audiences are resonating with it. Of course there's the aspect of it's a summer movie. It is that kind of high school dramedy, and I think it's hitting the festivals at the right time. But I truly think it's about life. I think there is a more internal kind of dialogue that people can have when they're watching this film. And one similar to the one that I had when we were filming it, and now looking back on it, I'm actually being able to watch the finished piece myself. One that I'm having more and more, and that I think about often. So, yeah, it's exciting. It's really amazing. It's one of those things like, you ask yourself when you're done filming, it's like, you know, I gave him, you give it your all to becoming a character. You don't know how it's going to be received. You don't know, you know, how that piece of work or art is going to land with people. So it's been incredible being at the premiere with Nick, seeing how it's gone and done in other festivals. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I would say it's really amazing to see how well it's been perceived already. I think it's just so it's about so many things, like it's like life. It's so many things. You know, with a son and a mother and the son and three chaotic fathers. There's so many relatable aspects in this film. I think there's so much you can really take away. And also from at the premiere, really taking in beginning to end of this film, you really see it's not just Beau that has the character arc. It's Karen, it's the mom,
Yeah.
it's all of the dads, it's Griff, it's Alea. There's so much development in that amount of time. And it just shows that everything is not concrete. Things change. Like life moves forward. So it's even though Beau is feeling this weight on his chest, things get better. And I think it can be very optimistic, like, oh, you know what? Things get better. And then he realized like everything is so much beauty was around him the whole time. Like all you need to do is take a breath and be like, okay, like I'm okay. And I think that's such a big thing. And also I think leaning into relationships that are already there,
Mm-hmm.
like leaning into Beau about how Griff feels, like yeah, just everything. It just shows like maybe people can watch it and take a step back and look. Okay, maybe there's people in my life that I can lean into, that I can love a little harder, that I can open up to more. And so I think there's a lot of reflection that can happen from viewing this film, as well as it's also so much fun. I think there's so many
Yeah.
great laughs and cries
Mm-hmm.
in this film. So I'm really excited to see how it does.
Yeah.
That's such a great point, Nick. I mean, if you watch the movie and you don't identify with Beau, well, you very well might just identify with Griff, and you very well
Yeah.
might, if you don't identify with Griff, maybe you identify with Alea or my
Yep.
mother or the three fathers I have. It's such a great point that every character has, you know, a character arc, because it's true. No one
Yeah.
is the same at the end of the movie, you know, as they were at the beginning of the movie, and that's, you know, something that's somewhat unique. There's a lot of different storylines going on through like 72-hour period, you know.
Yeah.
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 And this is arguably the biggest role for both of you. Did anything surprise you about this overall experience? What did you learn about your craft that you're not going to bring to future projects?
I think how important. I mean, this is this is definitely the biggest project I've worked on. Obviously, would love to work on more. And the biggest thing I took away from it is how important the relationships that you have with the cast, your ability to be vulnerable, and your ability to support other people that are working on this project that you're working on. Like Nick and I have said and reiterated over and over again, Spencer created a very safe space. He created a space where people were comfortable being vulnerable, working on their craft, where people were able to develop, you know, professional relationships beyond the screen, and continue to work on these characters. You know, I'm glad to say I'm still in touch with Nick. You know, it was good to see him when I was out in LA. But that's, you know, really, that went a far away from me, especially it being, you know, my the largest thing that I've worked on. And then just trying, you're always trying your best to humanize, or I'm always trying your best to humanize a character, you know, really just allow the humanization of that character to show through. I mean, that's a never ending journey or thing that you're trying to achieve, just trying to strip off and unlearn what society has kind of pushed over us year after year, and bring it down to just being playful, being a child again. And yeah, and getting down to that. But I guess that's all I got. It was an incredible experience.
Yeah, to back off that, it was an incredible experience. Something that I want to take away is that having a larger role. I think the impact you have on set is significant. Like
Hmm.
even Graham being there, he seemed a little bit nervous, and then me and Ryan stepping in and just putting his arm around his shoulder and I think just having such a welcoming, like whoever's on set that day, your family for the day. Like that is, and I think that energy really creates a creative and safe environment. And so
Yeah.
moving forward, I definitely want to keep that. Just always be positive on set. Like there's no reason to be pessimistic. Like this is so much. This is fun. Like, this is the dream. Being on set. There's no reason. Even there's a problem. Like okay, like let's work through it, but let's not crap on ourselves. Let's not right? So I think just always having that positive mindset and giving it our all. As an actor, oh man, it was amazing to be like to watch it back and be like, oh, I trust myself. Like I trust my instincts. I trust every day before set. I mean, obviously I don't talk about this. I did a lot of like meditating and breath work and tapping into like my heart as Nick. And I'd be like today I'd be like I would wake up and I'd be like, today I'm not gonna act from my head. I'm gonna act from my heart. And if I do that, everything I do as Griff will be so truthful that I can trust that I can let go and I can just play off of Ryan. I can play off my scene partners and I can really play and I can be this child like me and I can
Mm.
trust my impulses. And that really did come through. And so I think in future projects, the work I do beforehand is so strong, but also the confidence and trust I put in myself. I want to carry that with me because that goes such a long way. Yeah.
Yeah, great answer. I got one final question for the two of you. It's a strange one just given where the industry is right now, but I think this project is really going to put you both on a lot of people's radars. As you look ahead, is there a dream role that you would love to bring to life, either in front, behind the camera, on stage, on screen, and what's next for you?
Dream role. I love becoming characters. I love entertaining. Um, so I don't even know if they're necessary. I think the dream role is a challenge, right? Like any challenge is kind of the dream role to become the
Mm,
next thing, to become something else. And then really find, you know, maybe even if it's just a small aspect of you that relates to that character that you can then emphasize and bring out through that character and then really embody it in that way. I think that just like constantly being challenged in that way and then constantly having the ability or the opportunity to entertain people or to tell a story like that's the dream really. um I do some work behind the camera, um but I would love to continue being in front of the camera because the more I can understand from an actor's perspective, I think the more power you have to understand and manipulate things from
mm,
behind a camera, from a
yeah.
director's chair and whatnot. So I'd love to be a sponge. I want to continue to learn. I want to continue to become learn about life, you know, more, so I can become a better actor, and then learn about the industry and producing, you know, pieces of work like this, so I can continue to be in the industry. It's blessed to be a part of the role, and I yeah, I'm excited to see what comes of it for sure.
Yeah. Um, you know, this role was an absolute blessing. This whole project, you know, looking back, it's so special. It's so meaningful. And so in in moving forward, I would say like a dream role would be that, like Ryan said, that challenge, something that's going to challenge my craft, and then me as Nick to really step into something. And my biggest thing is I like this movie is special because I think it inspires the world in its own unique way. I want to continue doing things that are of that value, that are unique, and that
Yeah.
I'm on a cast and a crew that are in the mindset of I will do whatever it takes to make this the best. They're not like worried about all these materialistic things. Like it's just really about the story and about influencing
Mm,
the world. That's not about me. It's about how I can help people watching this. How I so I mean, dream role obviously be like if I could go back, like oh my gosh, a role like Good Will Hunting or like Nick Chef and Beautiful Boy, like these roles that are just so riveting, so real, and you just get so specific and hunker down more and more and more on these people's and characters' lifestyles. And as an actor, it just helps you reflect on your own life. It helps you become a better person. That's what I feel, and so to be challenged and just to give so much back to the world through my acting and art is really my goal, to help people release, to laugh, to cry, to realize things about their own life, to have those revelations, and to work with more families of casting crews, honestly.
mm.